Welcome to the Whiskey and Wisdom Podcast, coming to you from the Cargo District Recording Studios in Wilmington, North Carolina, where we discuss the most fascinating topics of life. I'm Tyler Yaw with my co-host, Chris Keller, and each week we interview a special guest to learn how they acquired their wisdom over a glass of whiskey. So, sit back, pour yourself a glass, and enjoy Whiskey and Wisdom.
Welcome back, everybody. As you know, it's your boy Chris, constant co-host.
Tyler Yaw.
And this week we bring on a lady who I've actually just met like 10 minutes ago.
Hey guys, I'm Dr. Amy Newberry.
Nice to meet you, Doc. See, we're racking up. Like we're getting...
Yeah, see, we hadn't had a doctor on for a long time, and now we're just going back to back now.
Yes,
So.
love it. And this week we are trying Beyond Distilling's whiskey. Is it whiskey or they call it bourbon? Bourbon whiskey. Mm-hmm. It is the second prettiest bottle I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. Like their artwork is really pretty.
And actually, I'm glad that you brought that up. So I went down to Charleston, South Carolina a couple weeks ago, picked up a lot of bottles of whiskey while I was down there and drank way too much, and which is why I'm doing 75 hard now because I need to detox from it. But with that being said, the bottle of Beyond Distilling is really neat because if you look at it, it's basically everything that is on there is based off of Charleston. So the little window that you see up top there, you see that in a lot of the architecture in Charleston. I forget what the semicircle window is called, but yeah, you can search it, I guess. And then it has that really large oak tree in the center of it too, which is very well known for being in the center of Charleston. And something that I thought Chris would really enjoy about this bottle as well too, and what one of the owners said, is there's a campfire in front of it because what they wanted to do is to put you in the place where you should be drinking this whiskey. And so with this, it kind of has like an orange taste to it, believe it or not. But when you taste it, it feels like you should be sitting in front of a campfire. Nice. And Chris always wants to know where he should be drinking this particular whiskey.
Well,
so
cheers.
Here we go.
Let's try it out.
It's different, right?
Yeah.
I honestly really like it. And I'm not even like a whiskey person.
Oh, yeah.
No, this one a bit more fruity, right?
Definitely more fruit forward. To me, this would be a summer whiskey for sure. We'll eventually have like a spreadsheet or a page like this is whiskeys we prefer for the summer or the winter. But yeah, this is really delicious.
The other really cool thing about this distillery too, especially since this podcast is in Wilmington, North Carolina, a lot of people know about Biddy and Bose. So they actually have a very similar business model at Beyond Distilling as well, where they take adults that have physical delays and they bring them in there and they help with the bottling process. So it was really cool being in there and having that environment and stuff. It was a lot of fun. Everyone working there was having a lot of fun. And the mission is just incredible too. So not only are they making great whiskey, but they have a great mission behind it. Unfortunately, they haven't gotten into the ABC stores in North Carolina yet because it's North Carolina. Yeah. But luckily for our Wilmingtonians, it's only like an hour away to drive to a liquor store in South Carolina. You can pick it up at any liquor store down there.
Nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, enough about our whiskey. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So my name's Dr. Amy, and I own Pelvic Prescription, Physical Therapy, and Wellness. So we basically help any active women or active men who are dealing with leakage or, leakage with working out, leakage anytime, or anyone dealing with pain with intercourse.
Yeah. So one of my questions, so actually I think my wife might have talked to you. I think that's how I heard about you first.
1,000%.
Yeah. So how did you get into that? Because it seems very niche.
Yes, it is. I would say the first time I heard about pelvic therapy being a thing, I was in PT school, never heard of this before. I went to PT school to work in the hospital, work in a gym, that kind of normal thing. But at first I was I heard of it and I was not for me. That sounds kind of weird. Don't really know about that. But then I had one of my professors in school, it was her specialty. And so she came in, did a lecture, passed around these weird Kegel balls and vaginal dilators. And all the guys in my class were like, pass it on. And I was like, this is really interesting.
Yeah.
So that's how I first got it. Like, it just intrigued me. I was like, oh, like, what is this? And then she started telling us like what she could help with, you know, like women who are, or men who are dealing with these like really embarrassing issues in this area that they don't talk about because it's like taboo and people are embarrassed about it. And it piqued my interest. So then I started shadowing her and she was awesome. And I just saw I saw firsthand like the impact that she was making on these like women and men's like lives. And and I was like, this is so meaningful. And like, I want to do this, you know?
Yeah. And we had Alex Richardson, who she came on and she was talking about a little bit about it too. And that's kind of what really piqued my interest and wanted to reach out to you is it seems so niche and it seems like one of those taboo topics. And I'm sure there's tons of women that's dealing with this. And I guess that some men as well too.
Yes.
And just wanted to bring you on and talk about it more because any of those taboo topics is something I enjoy talking about because it's probably something that needs to be talked about more.
Yeah, me too. No, totally. Yeah, I work a lot with Alex too with fourth trimester mission.
Oh, yeah.
So we do a lot of like partnering, and this summer we even have some things coming up for moms. So
that's
very excited.
Yeah.
So, because I like to be the nerd, what school did you go to?
I went to Augusta University in Augusta, Georgia for PT school.
Okay.
And I went to the University of Georgia. Have to throw that in there for college. So
I'm like, isn't it Go Dogs?
yeah, go Dogs.
It's funny, like half the family that I work with went to school in like Georgia or Alabama. So anytime the games are on, like, hey, are you watching? I'm like, no, I'm at work. I can't see what the score is.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I'm from Atlanta, so coming here to Wilmington was my first time ever even leaving Georgia.
Oh, wow.
So why'd you pick here?
Yeah, great question.
I'm like leaving Atlanta, which in the South is like the big city. Actually, yeah, Atlanta is the city.
Yeah, it's like the biggest city in the South.
Yeah.
So I never planned to leave Georgia. I loved being there. All my friends and family are there. But during COVID, this happened in 2020, a lot of things had changed at the place I was working in Atlanta. And it was like not great changes. And so I was like, I think I need to get out of here. So I started looking for a job. But again, this is like April 2020.
Oh,
and so
COVID.
yeah, it was like COVID.
Yeah.
And no one was wanting to hire a physical therapist. And I was like, okay, well, let me expand my search a little bit. And so I found a place here and I was like, oh, like I've never really heard of Wilmington. Like I heard one person went to UNCW, but didn't really know anything about the town. So I was like, oh, well, let me just check it out. And then I came here and you know, when you go somewhere and you can just like see yourself there and it just like feels right.
Right.
That's what I felt when I came to Wilmington.
Nice.
And I decided to move.
That's awesome.
So you decided to move. You said you have a fiance.
Yes.
Were they like, all right, let's go? Or was it
What is this place?
It's complicated, but so that was when we were dating. And so what happened was I ended up moving here. He stayed there and he actually ended up moving to Salt Lake City, Utah.
Oh, wow.
So we went from being in Atlanta together and then we were like, whoop. And he moved out there with some friends. And, you know, I think we just both wanted to, you know, experience something different than Georgia just for a little bit. Yeah. And then eventually we came to the decision of like, okay, like we need to decide Salt Lake City or Wilmington. And it became Wilmington mostly because I just started a business
Right.
and he can work from home. So
Yeah.
for sure?
yeah.
Made an easier decision, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
So you definitely suggest for everyone to leave your state at least for a year.
Yes,
Okay.
I think so. I didn't really want to at first, but I'm really glad that I did. And now, like 3 years later, I'm still here.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's always a thing. I was talking to my little sister and she's like, well, you know, I kind of want to do this, but I don't know what I want to do in life. And I'm like, move somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you have roommates that aren't going to beat you up, you should be fine.
Yeah, I think it's a great like growth opportunity. And I would say in the last 3 years, I've grown so much more than I would have ever even expected personally and just like career wise too.
Nice.
I don't think that would have happened if I like stayed in Atlanta.
So what led you to expand and start your own business? Because you moved here to work with somebody else, I'm assuming.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. So I decided I worked somewhere else for about a year and then throughout that year, I just had this like inkling kind of pulling me and telling me like, you know, like maybe you should do your own thing, just because three main reasons, I think, when I reflect back on like why I did it. And one reason was to like make a bigger impact. Okay. Like, I feel like when you're working with for someone, it's really hard like to make a big impact because, you know, you're going to work, you're doing your job, you're leaving, and you're tired, you know, and you don't have any more energy or space for anything else. And so I wanted to make a bigger impact. And I'm really big on community. Like I do a lot of things in the community to like do workshops, and I love like just like getting to know people and talking. And I never was able to do that, you know? And so now I can just talk to people, meet more people, educate the community better. And, you know, that's like one of my passions is obviously treating people with these issues, but also telling people that there is a problem, because a lot of people don't even know that. They're like, well, I had a baby. So like, well, yeah, of course I pee my pants. Yeah, this is normal. And like everyone's moms, grandmas are like, oh yeah, me too, you know? And it just becomes normal. And so like part of what my passion is just like educating people that no, it's actually not normal. And actually you can get help and it doesn't have to be that way. So, you know, moving here, I was like, oh, this is so cool. Like there is pelvic PTs here. But then I realized that the community still doesn't know who we are, what we do. And I was like, I'm so in it that I didn't realize that. So yeah, I feel like impact was a big thing for me. Also, I just saw a need in Wilmington. So Wilmington didn't really have like, I love work. I like do CrossFit and I work out, and I love working with like moms who are active. It doesn't have to be an athlete mom, but anyone that's like a mom who's active and like wants to get back to running, lifting, like whatever. And I felt really limited. Like I couldn't give those people what they needed to be able to achieve their goals.
So you've only been down here for about, or I guess up here for 3 years, and you're extremely connected already. So how were you able to do that so fast?
I honestly don't know. I know everyone says that. I'm like, I'm really not sure, but I don't know. I feel like this is a very small town. Me and my fiance, we always joke all the time. We're like, oh, this is so fun. That's such a small town thing. Cause like from Atlanta, like this stuff, like
you don't know anybody out there.
Yeah. Like this does not happen. Like I'll be emailing someone. They're like, oh, I know that you know so-and-so. And I'm like, there's literally always like a connection all the time.
There's only 3 degrees from like 80% of the people in town.
Yes.
If that.
Yeah, if that. Yeah, it's crazy, but I like it. I think it's kind of endearing. But I think just connecting and talking to people, I honestly don't know, but I think I just spend a lot of time in the community getting to know people, and that's what I think is really fun. And I love doing that.
So knowing people that know you and know of you, there is a famous costume that you have. Let's talk about that.
Yes.
Wait,
I didn't know that.
I was going to say, Chris didn't either. He has no clue.
No. So. Well, see, that's the fun. Like we bring in like the traditional questions that everyone else is going to ask, and then we ask the stupid stuff. Like if you're sitting at a bar and someone's like, hey, I saw you in a slutty pumpkin outfit one time.
You're like, ooh.
Nope, that wasn't me. I promise.
But yes, I got a costume. It's a vagina costume, and it's the best. I wear it around town.
Really?
I do. Yeah. Whenever I do like a workshop or an event, I bring it. Well, I don't drive in it anymore because it was kind of dangerous.
I can understand that.
Yeah, because I couldn't like turn my head, and it was like not good. So I tried it one time, and I was like, oh, I probably shouldn't do that. So now I put it on in the parking lot and then walk in. But yeah, I absolutely love wearing it because I don't know. I guess I just love reactions.
I mean, it does exactly what you want it to do, right? It just kind of start that conversation. I mean, there's no better conversation starter, right?
Yeah, it does. And it's funny because when I found the costume on Amazon, there was an option to get like, it was like you could get a double, like a vagina and a penis. Because I do treat men. So I was like, maybe I should get that one too. I was like, let's just start with a vagina first. But yeah, it's one of my favorite things to do is walk around town wearing that. And I have an idea for like an Instagram reel where I'm going to be like walking around like the grocery store and just like
you should do like those random interviews like, hey, you point on me where this is supposed to be.
Where your clitoris is. Yeah, I should. That's a great idea. I'll give you guys credit.
Yeah, I would repost that a million times just because that'd be awesome.
It would be hilarious if you went onto like UNCW's campus and walked up to guys and be like,
yes.
Instant viral.
So funny. Thank you for the idea.
Oh, I love that. Oh. Whew.
So you said you treat guys as well. So not knowing anything, so what type of things would you help guys with? Because I assume it's very different for men and women.
It's actually not as different as you would think it is.
Okay.
So for when you think about pelvic floor, right? I keep it down to like, okay, what do? I help anyone that is having peeing problems, pooping problems, and sex issues.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay.
yeah, that's to simplify it. And so men can have all the same issues because you pee and you poop and you have sex.
Fair enough.
So yeah, that's what I help with. So I have a lot of guys that come in and their issues might be like maybe they can't empty all the way when they're peeing, or maybe they have constipation, or maybe they have like pain. So I've had people with like testicular pain or like penile pain or like rectal pain, like different stuff like that. And age is like no factor. Like I've treated guys and women and men from age like 13 to like 75.
Oh, wow.
So it's, some people are like, oh, well, it only happens after you have a baby or only happens when you get older, but that's not the case.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So going down that line, so my brain is questioning. So you would help if, like, for a lot of people and a lot of women, I know they hate this because the guys always leave a mess. Would you assist guys like to help so they're not dripping everywhere? I guess that would be the
You mean after like peeing?
Yeah.
Yeah. So both women and men have that issue too. Like after, like especially after having a baby, like for women, but also men, like it's just, we call it like post-void dribble.
Yeah.
And so yeah, you just have to, well, that's more of like habit change. Right?
All right, Chris, it's all your own fault.
So it's a habit change. It's not me. We've established that.
We work in retail. We understand.
Yes. I hate retail bathrooms.
Yeah, that's not a great place. And while we're on the topic of toilets, like it is, important to, this is just a random little tidbit. It is important to like sit all the way on the toilet when you go to the bathroom, because when you hover, that can cause like issues with pelvic floor things like going wrong. Because people see the gross bathroom and like, oh, I don't want to like be close to that.
Yeah.
But like that can cause some issues.
Interesting. Yeah. So are you a fan of the squatty potty then?
Yeah, I am. I'm a huge, I got them in the clinic. I got them at home. They're like super important. Everybody should definitely have a squatty potty.
You should have an Amazon shop front or like a link to squatty potties.
I do.
Really?
Yeah. I have an Amazon like little link thing of all the like products I usually recommend for people for any of these kinds of issues.
I've been debating on getting a squatty potty.
Oh yeah, debate's over.
Well,
Like
it was like the
yesterday.
joke because like our house has an upstairs, which is, we're assuming it was meant to be like a kid's room or a game room because the toilet's like an extra inch shorter. And the first time I went, I'm like, yep, that almost broke my back.
Oh no.
Well, because you expect to sit one place and it was a lot lower. And I was like, oh, this must be like what a squatty potty's like.
Yeah, it is. Like you should be in that position because it helps relax the muscles. And if the muscles are relaxed, then you can empty better without issues. Versus if you sit on a normal toilet, your muscles aren't fully relaxed. And so that's why people have issues with constipation. Yeah.
It's really like it's a Eurocentric toilet because when I was in Afghanistan, like all the porta-johns literally just had a spot so you can sit.
You like squat over it.
Like you squat and I'm like, oh, that probably makes sense.
Yeah,
There's a reason.
Exactly.
Right.
I just came back from Malaysia like a couple months ago, and everywhere in Asia, it's like a lot of those kind of toilets, and it's even porcelain. It's just a porcelain hole, And that's how that's the healthy way to go.
Makes sense.
Sorry, we just went down.
We went down the hole,
Not the rabbit hole, but.
The toilet hole.
All right, so you've been working. How long have you been working with like the 4th trimester mission?
since they started.
Okay.
Yeah, since they started like a little over a year ago.
Yeah, it's a little over a year ago.
Yeah, a little over a year ago.
Do you like doing that?
Yeah, I love it so much. And we support, they're like the nonprofit that we support every month with our business. And so I truly like love what Alex is doing. And I'm actually working on a little project right now. I don't even think she actually knows about this. But
We'll see if she listens to the
We'll see, I
podcast.
don't know. But basically I'm gathering all these like videos of moms who have been through like the early postpartum and I'm asked on Facebook, I asked for people to send me videos of like encouragement for new moms who are just going through it for the first time.
That's great.
And I'm going to make it into like a little video that they'll be able to like scan and like watch when they're like recently home.
Yeah, that's cool.
So kind of it's a hard time.
Right.
Big transition.
Definitely.
That's what they tell me. Mm-hmm. I unfortunately won't have to worry about that.
Yep.
So when you're doing outreach to the community to let people know about what you can help them with, since it is like a kind of a taboo topic or something, is there any way that you kind of approach it to reach people that way? Or is it just kind of like, hey, if you hear it, it's going to like cause like a stir somewhere?
Yeah, I feel like there's different, I always say there's different kinds of pelvic floor therapists. There are some that like don't talk about what they do. And then there's some that are like to see the reaction. And I actually do think I'm the one who likes to see the reaction. So I like to like just say it. I'm like, yeah, do you have pain with sex? Do you like pee your pants, Because like that's what people like, they hear that. Because like if I said, do you have incontinence? Do you have dyspareunia? Those are like the medical terms. And no one's like, what is that?
No one's going to be like,
No.
yes.
Yeah. So I'm like, yeah, do you pee your pants? Do you have pain with sex? And then people are like, yeah, that's me. And like the stats are like 1 in 3 women in their lifetime actually are going to deal with a pelvic floor dysfunction issue, like with peeing, pooping, or sex. So
that's crazy.
I don't even know what the stats are for men. We haven't even thrown that in there, but
Right.
I mean, that's huge.
Ooh.
Yeah. You would think with those type of stats, it'd be something that gets talked about or should be talked about more.
Yeah, I know. And I think it is. I think it definitely is improving, but we have a lot of like challenges that we're trying to get over because, there are a lot of medical professionals that don't believe in it still and don't really understand like what we do. And so there's like that kind of issue. Then there's the whole stigma issue. So there's just a lot of things that I think are still in the way, but it's getting better.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So medical professionals don't believe in PTs or in...
Yeah.
Oh,
I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my reaction too. I'm like, we're not doing some like weird like voodoo thing. Like we're just addressing the muscle dysfunction. And I think a lot of healthcare providers, they just look at they like can't understand. I think that a muscle could cause such an issue. Maybe.
okay.
I don't know. I'm just trying to like think of maybe why they just want, to do what has always been done, but we know
Or we
now.
can take Sarah's answer and they just want to give you prescriptions instead of actually fixing it.
I didn't want to say that, but yeah, it's just easier to take a pill or have a surgery. But the problem with like a pill or a surgery is that sometimes it doesn't ever actually address the underlying issue if they're like leakage, for example. Like I'll use leakage as an example. Or no, I'll use like pain with intercourse as an example. Like for that, they might say, I literally have had patients tell me, well, my doctor told me just to have a glass of wine, and they're like, that will help. Yeah, that will help.
It's like, if you just can't feel anything, you'll be okay.
Yeah, and it's crazy because I'm like, literally, it's just your muscles are really tense and we just need to stretch the muscles so that they can be flexible and then it won't hurt anymore.
Oh, wow.
But then they'll be like, oh, yeah, like, let's do a surgery to cut something or let's take a medicine or to numb or whatever. And I'm like, it's just the muscle.
Just like any other muscle, it should be stretched. It should be used.
Yeah. I always use the example of my bicep because I'm like, okay, your bicep should be able to stretch and lengthen to be able to pick something up.
Yeah.
It should be able to bring it to you. So it should be able to contract and relax. But the pelvic floor should be able to do the same thing. And when it can't do that, that's when issues like come up.
Okay.
So
Learned many things already.
Yeah. You would think the least intrusive way should be the first way to go.
I know. It's like the most conservative, least intrusive like way. And I'm like, we should definitely, they would tell you to go to physical therapy if you had a knee injury. They wouldn't, they actually make you do physical therapy before even doing surgery.
Right.
And they should do the same for your pelvic floor. Like you should definitely do physical therapy first. And then if you still,
more surgery.
and if maybe that will solve it. And if not, then maybe you need another intervention, but you should at least go the route that's going to result in less cuts.
Right. Yeah. I would agree.
And like scar tissue. So like scar tissue can cause issues with the muscles too.
I was going to say, I feel like having surgery down there, if your body doesn't heal, you have scar tissue, then you end up with more issues.
Exactly. Yeah. If there's scar tissue on the muscle, then the muscle just can't function. it can't stretch the way it's supposed to, and that can cause a lot of pain, and the muscle can't work for you. So the muscle is supposed to prevent leakage from happening, and it's supposed to relax, but if it's scarred up, it can't do its job, and then that's why you have issues. So a lot of people, have you ever heard of Kegels?
Yeah.
So that's why I always say Kegels are not always the answer, because a lot of times doctors will be like, well, and not doctors, everyone will say like, oh, we'll just do some Kegels, and I think that'll solve your problem. But Kegels can actually make it worse, because if you have scar tissue, if your muscle's too tight, then you're going to make it the problem more of an issue. And that's why pelvic therapy is not just Kegels. So,
It's like, oh, you don't feel good. You just need to go run.
yeah, just keep on like.
Just keep running. And I'm like, well, you should probably do other stuff besides.
Yes.
Makes sense.
Yes, exactly. So that's my little thing. Just, it's not always about Kegels. And like, I will have people call me and they're like, well, I've been doing Kegels and it's not working. And I'm like, I know.
Right. I'm sure.
Yeah. So
That's something I wouldn't have thought about.
I guess it's a similar concept to like if you only worked out your bicep, like it's not going to help the rest of your body.
yeah.
And it would probably make your bicep eventually like detach from itself. Like,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like if your bicep was already stuck here, and then you're like, well, I'm gonna go do some more curls, and then you go to the gym, you're like, I'm gonna keep on curling, and you're going like this much, like that's ridiculous.
yeah.
So yeah, that's why Kegels don't always work, because the pelvic floor is like this, and then you're just reinforcing the issue versus like actually solving the problem, which is the muscles need to most likely be like assessed and like stretched, and then retrained.
Yeah. What's something you see the most in your practice then?
I would say two things, and it's the two things I harp on the most probably, which is why.
Yeah.
But one is a lot of moms who are either trying to get pregnant or postpartum, and they're trying to make sure that they rehab safely and well after having a baby. And they're trying to get back to running or lifting or even like a burn boot camp, like any sort of like group workout class. They just don't want to be embarrassed about like leakage or pressure or feeling like something's falling out of their vagina. That doesn't feel great. So that's
imagine.
yeah, try to imagine. But guys can have the same issue more on like the backside with like prolapse or hernias and stuff like that. So you guys are not excluded completely.
Okay.
But also pain with intercourse, that's like something that I really love. Like we love treating that because it's just makes such a big impact on someone's life and their relationship, Like we've helped so many women that like wanted to get pregnant, but they couldn't, like sex was so painful. They just like were avoiding it. Oh, wow. And then they were able to come see us, and then they were able to have like intercourse again and enjoy it, and then able to get pregnant.
That's incredible.
So
wow.
yeah, that's huge, Yeah. So I love like that impact that we can make. And those are our two primary people that we help.
Is there anything that people can do to make sure they don't get to the point where it's a problem?
There are some things. It's kind of like though, like when you go to PT for anything else though, like sometimes you don't always, it's like an injury. It's like a muscle injury. And so, I mean, some things you could do are just like basic things like being active, and, making sure that you're, an active person. I'd say like the more sedentary you are, the like worse things can be. Like all of my patients who are really active, they tend to rehab a lot faster and a lot better than my patients that aren't as active. Mm-hmm. So I would say just being an active individual. Yeah. and like we do have people come in who maybe don't have a huge problem, but they're like, what? I can tell that if I don't get help now, this might become a big issue in the future. Right. So they'll come in with like maybe like a smaller issue that we can like solve really fast.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Makes sense.
I like that.
Chris had a question. And I saw it come and go too in your eyes.
Like,
no, that is just how my brain works. So many times I'll be like, wait, and I forget about it while I told myself to wait.
I'm like that too. Okay. Yeah. I have to write everything down.
You're in Malaysia?
Yes.
Were you doing anything fun over there, or are you going over to learn like other techniques?
No, it was for fun. Yeah. It was a fun trip. Yeah, I had family there. Okay. So I went there and got to spend time with family. I went to Vietnam and Bali also.
Oh, so that's cool.
Some, like side trips. But no, it was a lot of fun. Yeah, the food was great.
I hear that. My wife really wants me to go to Bali.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah.
She keeps telling me to apply for Survivor.
Yeah.
I would say I'm biased towards Malaysia, obviously, because like family's there, but I really liked Vietnam. It was like beautiful, and I didn't really know what to expect.
Right.
So
I don't think anyone knows what to expect about Vietnam. Like, because one, it's so quote unquote so far away. And like, because I think America is very Eurocentric, everyone goes east versus going to the west. And I'm like, it's such a beautiful country. Like one of my coworkers, his family's from
Cambodia.
Yes. And I'm like, I've never seen pictures of it. And I'm like, he showed us something like, this is gorgeous.
yeah,
Everywhere.
yes,
And I'm like, I love the greenery. Do I want to deal with snakes and bugs? No, but it's still a beautiful place and I would love to go and visit.
yeah, it is. I mean, gorgeous, and I'm planning on going back next year again.
Oh, nice.
So hopefully, yeah.
So, because I'm also stupid, where is Malaysia compared to like the larger known countries?
Okay, let's see. Do you know where like Thailand
Yes.
is? It's like right below Thailand.
Oh, okay.
It's like an island, and it's like a horizontal island. It's connected to like Singapore. It's like right next to it too. Is that a map? Oh my gosh, it's like these little ones here.
Oh, okay. That's what I thought it was.
Yeah.
I was waiting for you to do that.
Well, so I've had this map on my arm for like so long, I forget. And then half the spots, because this pays off just like a classic, that I was like, wait, is that actually accurate representation?
Right, yeah.
Like,
yeah, it's like one of the little islands.
yes,
Under there.
down here.
Yeah.
Well, it also throws me off because of how high up Japan is in this. And I'm like,
Japan's pretty high. Pretty high up.
but no, I would have never. In my head, I'm like, oh, well, China's here and Japan's like right off the coast. And you're like, no, it's pretty far away.
Yeah. Oh, that's really cool.
Sorry, we'll post a picture or something somewhere.
Right.
Of the tat.
We're like, we'll just draw a line right.
That's where
here.
Malaysia is.
Did you go backwards? Did you go from California to Malaysia?
In the past, when I have traveled there, that's the way we went. But this time we went from New York, New Jersey, and we flew like
Over?
like I guess
You went over the
east.
North Pole.
Yeah, we went like over
Okay.
and then got there.
Oh, that's
and it was
interesting.
an 18-hour flight.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
It's the longest flight in the world.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
So it was a direct flight?
It was a direct flight from New Jersey to Singapore.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I didn't realize that was like a flight path for the longest time. And then my brain, like I saw someone like show something online. I'm like, oh, that does kind of make sense. Like if you're on the East Coast, instead of hitting a bunch of stops, if you just go over the North Pole and then down.
Just go, yeah. It's like faster.
Yeah.
It was fun. I love like when I'm on the airplane, I love like having the little map and I just like watch it. I feel like a kid. I'm
Right.
like, I love just seeing where I'm at. I'm like, oh, we're over like China.
Yeah.
You know?
That is so fun.
Was there any good meals on the plane?
Actually, yes. Like the meals were incredible.
Okay.
Like way better than like any like domestic.
Did you take Malaysia Airlines?
We took Singapore Airlines.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So did you go like, did you do level up at all? Or did you just go into the back and chill with like the normal people?
So we booked like premium economy, but it was pretty much the same thing. The seat was just like a little bit nicer.
Yeah.
But we went with my grandma. And it was like my grandma, my
Okay.
mom, and I. So we wanted it to be like a little more comfortable for her for the trip.
That makes sense.
So
You
yeah.
didn't go first class?
No.
I'm sure
No,
first class on 18 hours
We're not-
is ridiculous.
We're not that bougie. That's probably like thousands of dollars. I don't even know.
I have zero idea. In my head, I'm like, ooh, it'd be so much fun, but no.
Yeah, it would be nice. Like some of the Singapore airline or some of them, like it's like a bed. Like you can just like recline down. It's like an actual like bed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
There's some that are like just rooms.
Yeah. Like
It's like, well,
yeah.
I went upstairs, and that's where
There is a Mr. Beast video that's out there where he goes on all the different types of flights.
I did.
Yeah, I did watch that one because it was pretty interesting. So he went on one that like it was a small little plane. It cost like $25 to get on, and it's basically like the Wright brothers plane, like push you off a cliff, and it's like just glide. But then he was in one that it was like a double decker plane, but it was all like you rent it and it's yours.
Yeah.
It's like $500,000 a flight though.
my gosh.
I'm good.
That's crazy. Wow.
I've actually never seen a double-decker plane in real life.
You probably have just never realized it.
Mm-hmm.
I live in Wilmington. We don't have double-deckers.
Fair. Okay.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no double.
These planes are really tiny.
Yeah.
I'm like, I've seen pictures of them, and in my head, all I can picture is Soul Plane. For all those young kids, it's a movie with Snoop Dogg and a bunch of other black actors. Priceless.
So what did you enjoy most over in Malaysia?
Definitely the food. So like in Malaysia, like when you go out to eat, they have like hawker stations.
Okay.
And it's like these little carts, and everyone specializes in one dish, and it's like the person to go to for that one dish. And so you just go to this like outdoor area where all these like little carts are, and you can just like buy food, and then you just like there's like little tables in the middle, and you just can like eat your food right there.
Oh wow.
And it's like $1 to $2.
Oh,
Yeah.
kind of like a
can't
food
beat
court,
that.
Yeah, kind of like a food court. Yeah.
but better.
But like way
Right.
yeah. Like these are people that have been cooking this recipe in their family for like years, you know, and have like mastered it.
That's neat.
Yeah.
But
It's so
delicious.
good. Like that's why I gotta go back. I gotta go eat more food.
Right. I'm sure the food's much better for you as well too.
Yeah. Well, yeah, maybe. I don't know about the food I was eating, but
So wait, what was your favorite food over there?
I really like. It's called char kway teow, and it's like this noodle dish with like it's like beef noodles, and it's like made on like a wok like outside, and it's like has like this like fiery kind of like I don't know like taste. It's really good. Yeah, so good. I don't even think we can find it in
I was gonna
Wilmington.
say, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Maybe Atlanta.
Atlanta, you can, yeah, whenever
Oh, yeah.
I go back to Atlanta, I like eat all the Asian food, and then I come back here and I'm like, at least I stocked up.
Right.
We were talking to somebody about that a while ago. Like Wilmington we've grown for sure, but there's still a lot of like things that we could add.
Really, the food scene can
Yeah.
Yes.
really improve.
Yeah. We're lacking here.
I mean, it's all very similar food styles. I do love the food trucks because that's, I mean, I grew up here. We didn't have that as an option for a long time.
Yeah.
But I'm like, we could always have more.
Yes, I think that there could be a lot more like diverse food.
Yes.
But the food that is here is really good. So the like American food.
That look on your face, you're like,
I guess it's okay. So, believe it or not, in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, where people think like only Amish live, there's actually a large conglomerate of just people from all over Asia that move there. So you have a lot of my friends were from Malaysia, Cambodia, Vietnam, and
Laos.
Yep.
Cool. So I'm sure there was good food.
Amazing food.
Yeah.
And since I like stayed close with them too, like their like grandma would come from wherever, like usually New York, and they would eat, like make some food. And then I'm like, yes, I'm coming over today.
So good. Oh, I miss that. So
Yeah,
much.
it's amazing. And then when we went to New York, we stayed in Koreatown, which the best food in my personal opinion. I like it more than Chinatown up there for food.
Yeah.
I don't think I've been there. I've only been to Chinatown in New York.
Where is Koreatown?
It's relatively close by. It's just not as like big and grand. It's not like as lights and lit up and like touristy.
Yeah.
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 Smart. A little bit more laid back.
Yeah. I would say Atlanta has really good Asian food.
Oh, really?
Yeah, really good. Sometimes even like there are some places in Atlanta I thought were even better than like New York actually. I was
wow.
like, this is really good.
I've never been down to Atlanta yet, to be honest.
I've been once, and it was for like a weekend, and I had a bunch of other stuff I was doing. I would love to go down there. One, because I just like Ludacris, and and I'm like, I really need some chicken and waffles.
Oh yes. Oh my gosh, I'm so hungry right now.
We got Chris on the food train again.
I know. I love talking to you.
As soon as it gets on food, it never comes
we
off.
were talking about pelvic floor, and now we're like food.
I mean, you start at the top.
I was
and
going
you
to
go
say,
to the bottom.
yeah.
And then-
You can't have pelvic floor issues
Yeah.
if you're not eating
That's
and drinking.
true. You're right. Yeah, you're right.
See,
Bring it together somehow.
this is the bunny trails that my brain goes on. I could connect almost anything.
Yeah, I love
This
it.
is why it's a drinking podcast.
Love it. But you're right.
So, since we're talking about drinking, did you like this Beyond Distilling?
I actually really do, which is I'm just like
great.
surprised because I'm usually like really picky about like drinks. I like only love like sour beers. I'm very like specific. I love sour beers. And so everything else, I'm kind of like, it's okay, you know?
Yeah.
But I actually really do like honestly like this because it's
That's
like,
good.
it's not like super like, oh gosh, you know, it's like very like smooth and yeah, it's nice.
Nice.
I'm not sure if I told you about this either, Chris, but when I was touring the distillery, it was really neat. So the way that this distillery works is they all used to live in New York, like upstate New York. And the two main distillers were like, you know what? We can do this. Let's go do it somewhere else. Their friend already lived in Charleston. So they were packing up and ready to go. And they're like, we need to find someone with money to like help us with this.
Yes.
And so he went to his boss and he was like, you know what? I'm just going to go for it. And went to his boss and gave his like 2 weeks. It was actually more like 2 months. But it was like, hey, I'm about to go down to Charleston. I'm going to do it myself. And he knew, almost like me and Chris, it was like 2 peas in a pod type of thing. He was like, well, if you're going, I know homeboy's going with you. He was like, so since you two are the main distillers, what could you do if I just gave you this 1,000 barrels of whiskey? How much could you do? And they're like, we could do a lot with 1,000 barrels of whiskey. So they packed everything up on 18-wheelers and brought them down here and kind of started it down there. But what was really cool, they've worked at so many different distilleries over the years. He actually took me up in this like loft area and just brought down like one of his favorite whiskeys that they've made and bourbons over like the whole entire time they've been distilling together. So there was a lot of drinking.
Wow.
But it was really neat,
That's
just kind of
cool.
like tasting the different variations and everything like that too.
Tyler made a mini whiskey tour of Charleston.
Ooh.
Which, you believe it or not, you can actually do down there. And I didn't even hit all of them.
Oh, that's the thing that they do down
Yeah.
there. I love Charleston.
It was fun.
I feel like the Tri-County area will get there eventually. There's just not a lot of, like, the space you would need to do it. You don't want to pay for it right now.
Yeah, no.
And the time for bourbon takes a long time.
Yes. I mean, you got to wait at least 3 years.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess 2, but yeah, 3 is ideal.
Maybe that's what you guys can do next.
Have to find some barrels that's already rested.
Yes, to get us started. Going back. Sorry. It's like when you're watching like SNL and people are like laughing their tail off and they're like, all right, let's get in the character. Let's get in the character. Come on, hold on. So, because you were going to PT school, and I'm throwing it way back, right? Because I was really curious at the beginning. I just forgot to ask you, why did you want to be a physical therapist? For those who don't know, like me, because she said PT, and I was like,
Not the burger place.
Yeah, not PT's Grill, although I love PT's Grill. Talk about food one more time.
Right.
But yeah, so when I was in college, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. Like I'm sure everybody. I changed my major like 10 times, probably, no joke. But I landed on physical therapy because, well, first I shadowed a bunch of people in the healthcare industry, right? I was like, okay, what best way to know than like go into their day-to-day and see what it's like, you know? And when I shadowed a bunch of like a dentist, an optometrist, a nurse, everything, you know? And every time I was like, that was pretty cool. And then I shadowed a physical therapist, and this particular person was actually a pediatric physical therapist. So funny enough, like that's what got me into physical therapy.
Oh, wow.
This is totally not what I do. But I left that day and I was like, that was so fun.
Yeah.
You know, like I want to have fun every day, you know, going to work.
Right.
Because we work for like the rest of our lives. And yeah, I was like, this was like legitimately fun. And she's like playing and I want to have fun when I'm working.
Yeah.
So that's what drew me to it. And again, like impact, like with a physical therapy, we get to spend hours upon hours with our patients versus like usually other healthcare professions. Like it's like 10, 15 minutes tops. And then it's like in and out and you're like, you don't really know your patient. And you see them like once a year and you're like, oh, you know, whatever. But for physical therapy, you just like really, like some of my patients like become like my friends, you know. I don't know how professional that is, but they do. Because I like having my own business. I can just be truly me and I don't have to like put up a front or anything. I can just be myself. Yeah. And yeah, I am honest and transparent and like they become my friends and like I truly like care about their lives and I know they truly care about my life too. And we just have a great like relationship. And I don't think that can happen in any other healthcare
No.
Right.
job.
We had on another woman who she doesn't do as much physical therapy anymore, but Dr. Hillary Rutledge.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know Dr. Hillary.
Oh, do you? That's awesome. I figured you might. But she was talking about that too, how like there's no other place where you get that type of interaction with one of your clients. And now that she's doing more like the
functional med,
yeah. I was like, I'm trying to get to the word. I'll eventually get there yeah, thank you. She was like, I don't see them as often as when she was with physical therapy, and that was one of the things that she missed about it.
Yeah.
So it was cool that you brought that up too.
Yeah. It's really important to me. And yeah, having that connection. Cause like when you connect with your healthcare provider, I think you just like heal better too. You know, like you care about it. And as like funny as it sounds, like I truly like believe that too. Like when you don't like the person you're seeing, like, I don't know, you're like, why am I here?
Right. Yeah. You're probably not putting it like enough emphasis into it. You're not going to do like, if you told them to go home and like, hey, make sure you go and do this. Like if you enjoy it, then you probably will.
Exactly. Yeah. It's all about like fun. And that's another thing that's important to me. Like I feel like a lot of physical therapy, to be honest, is kind of boring. Yeah. I'll be honest.
I can see that.
It's boring. And, you know, like when you think about typical traditional therapy, it's like khakis and polo and you're going to go do this and that. And like, it's just straight up boring. And so part of like my business model too is I just want people to have fun, and I want to create a space that's fun and light and like not like your traditional old timey physical therapy.
Yeah. So. Do people come to you just for like a typical physical therapist thing, or do you not kind of do that anymore?
Sometimes it depends. Okay. I like to say we treat anything from like here to like here. Yeah. And like neck too. I like treating people's necks sometimes. And usually people will come to us with a pelvic floor issue because that's what I talk about the most. But if they are like, oh, well, like my back kind of hurts, I'm like, well, usually that actually is a pelvic floor issue too, by the way, like chronic hip and back pain. If you've done the traditional like PT or chiropractic care and it's still not getting better, it could be your pelvic floor muscles referring pain to your hip and your back. So I'll throw that in there too. So yeah, we'll treat like people for other things if they're kind of like, oh, this kind of is an issue. And I'm like, oh, we can help you with that. But we don't it's like not often, you know. Makes sense. And if it's something like your ankle or your foot or your wrist, like, no, I refer that to my friend. Like, I'm not gonna treat that.
Go down that way.
Right.
Yeah.
I can see that being another super niche thing too, with like the smaller bones and muscles.
And that's the thing I love about like having met so many other small business owners. Like if someone's coming to me and they're like, well, this hurts, and I'm like, well, like we could, but like I think you'd be better fit to go see this physical therapist who does this more often. Yeah.
So as a small business owner, what does success look like for you? Like in the business sense, as well as like in your specialty?
I would say like happiness and like fun again.
Yeah.
So I think before, when I wasn't a small business owner, I wasn't having fun. I was like very unhappy. And I think starting my own thing, I was looking for like happiness and just more energy to be able to like live life. And so I think success to me is just like being happy and having fun. And so, you know, and that's why I want like my patients to have fun and be happy. And like, I want my team, I have a small team. I want my team to be happy and have fun. And I want like me to be happy and have fun. And I think that's like, if at the end of the day, like you had a good day and like you're happy and it was a good day and it was fun, then I'm like, okay, awesome job. That was fun.
That's great. I wouldn't have thought of that.
Yeah. And since we are starting to come up on our time now today, my last question for you is, if you were to tell your younger self one thing, what would it be?
Ooh, whoa, let's see. I don't know. I think I would say like definitely like keep going, and it's like worth it. I know that might be kind of like vague and cliche maybe, but I would say the last like 3 years, even though it's been like the most transformative of my life, it's definitely like been the hardest. Like this has been the hardest thing I've ever done in my life so far. And so I think just trying to tell myself that it is worth it, because like there are a lot of low points in business ownership where you're kind of, it's like a roller coaster. Like some days like are really high and you feel really good, and some days are just like horrible and you feel absolutely horrible about yourself. And like, what did I do? Like, I'm gonna have to move back to Georgia, you know? So I definitely like I'm riding like the roller coaster. And so I would say that like keep going, and it's worth it, you know? And hopefully my future self will keep on telling myself that. So I like that. Like 5 years next forward.
Exactly. That's a good thing to think about too. It's like, what would your future self want to tell you now? That is another interesting question.
Yeah.
I haven't thought of that. Mine would definitely tell me to hire Sway to do our stuff so much sooner in life.
That's true. And good ad placement, Chris. I appreciate it.
No, I was joking like the other day. I was like, how far would we have gone if we had started like doing things sooner in life? Like me and Tyler spitballed for a full year before settling down and like actually getting the podcast going. And it's one of those things, like in general, if you start now, you'll be ahead of yourself if you waited. And I don't think a lot of people think about that.
Yeah, I agree. I could have like waited, because I think I maybe started a business. I know some people will say, well, I feel like I need to go work more experience, And I'd say I could have done that, but I'm glad that I didn't.
Yes.
I just went ahead and like jumped in.
So. Yeah, I was watching a positivity summit this past week, and they brought on Sean Cannell, who's actually really big in YouTube. And he has this like 7C thing. And the very first C is courage. And just having the courage to take that first step and do what needs to be done to follow your dreams and to chase your dreams. And especially if you're doing anything, but especially with what we're doing with this, and even you coming onto a podcast, is having the courage to just do it. Because the first time that you do a podcast or a YouTube video or start a business, you're going to have those hiccups. Like our first episode sounded horrible. We have people that come on that they think they sound horrible, but they don't. And they just need the courage to get over it. And then same thing, business ownership too. Like it takes a while to figure out get the P's and Q's.
Yeah. You just have to try. Like, I'm just trying, like every day I try it. Like it's different, like every workshop I do, like I think back to my first workshop and
right. Exactly.
But it was your first.
I was gonna say, but you had the courage to just do it, and that's where you're at now.
Yeah. Now I'm wearing a vagina costume.
See?
So
I still love that.
Talking about courage.
Courage to ask, where is it?
Right.
No.
We're on the costume.
On the costume. I was like, you mean where the glitter?
See, every guy should just ask that question. They wouldn't get
Probably not wrong. So with that being said, where can everyone find you online?
Yeah, so I would say we live mostly on Instagram, and our handle is at pelvic.prescription. So we post a ton of like free educational information and some funny dances in the vagina costume. So we try to keep it funny, try to keep it educational, also just use it as a platform to educate and empower like our community and connect with people. So that's where we live, but we also have a website. So it's just www.pelvicprescription.com, and that's how you can find us.
That's right. Thank you.
So thank you for popping on here.
Thank you.
It was a blast.
Yeah.
I mean, we started at the bottom, went to the top, and
went back down.
Thank you. And yes, we did that for a pun. But thank you for coming on. It was a blast. Everybody, hit us up on social media. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok while it lasts.
That happens sometimes.
But enjoy it. We had fun.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Fun.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Cheers.
Cheers.